Good evening. My name is Jason Smith. I first off want to thank the Dent County Central Committee and Joyce Carnes, along with the 8th District Committee, for hosting this event to allow myself and all of the other candidates at least to express our ideas and vision for the 8th Congressional District. I want to cut right to the chase. We have very short amount of time, but if you're looking for someone who's content with what's going on in Washington, D.C., you're going to have to look for someone else other than myself. Because I am running against everything that is actually happening in Washington, D.C. If you want a new direction, if you want new ideas and a fresh voice, then I'm your candidate. I'm running because I'm sick and tired of watching Congress to continue to do one thing. They continue to kick the can down the road with the real problems that we face. Whether it's a fiscal cliff crisis or immigration, you name it, they continue to just kick it down the road without ever genuinely coming to a problem, and we have to come up with problems. You have to be absolutely furious to be living in this country and looking at the facts. We have failed to balance the budget 51 out of the last 56 years. The last Republican president that balanced our budget was Dwight Eisenhower. I mean, that's a long time. Folks, we haven't even passed a budget in Congress in almost 4 years, let alone balance one. We have to make a huge change. If you look at the debt ceiling, we talk about that all the time. Since 1964, we have increased the debt ceiling 74 times. If that does not make you upset, I don't know what will. You look at the value of what the tax collector collects from us. They collect almost more than 40 cents on every dollar that we earn. You look at 1930, you only had to work 57 seconds to pay your federal taxes. They estimate right now that you have to work 99 days for what you have to pay the tax collector. That is showing what is wrong with Washington, D.C. It is broken. It's not a revenue problem up there. It's a spending problem, and we have to get very serious about that. In the House, I've had the opportunity to serve the last 7 years. We've balanced the budget every year. I've passed legislation to reduce burdensome regulations. That's what we need to do in Washington, D.C. You see over 170,000 pages of different regulations that's on the books. Regulations that try to tell us that we can't allow our kids to work on the farm. The Department of Labor has tried to implement that. That's ridiculous. When they try to define a retail pet store to include domestic farm animals, you better watch out, because they're wanting to get in all your business. We have over 2 million federal employees that are non-military. Oh, it's done. Whoop, sorry. Okay. Oh, I still have a little bit of time? Oh, sorry. I got a lot more to say.
All right, in selecting our candidate, we expect to do better. We want Missouri to do better. We are close to losing what has made us strong and what makes America great. Our country is $16 trillion in debt. Our current leader wants a blank check. Joy and Emerson voted yes on what they are calling over the cliff. How do you think that could have been handled differently?
For one, the right vote would have been a no vote. Ronald Reagan said the biggest mistake of his presidency was agreeing to the deal that was sort of like the fiscal cliff, but it was complete opposite. For every $3 in proposed cuts to spending, there was $1 in tax increase. This was completely opposite. This was for every $10 in tax increases, there's one of future promised cuts. How do you cut from a budget that doesn't even exist? Folks, seriously, they are basically snowing the American public. We got to do something about it. So I would have voted no on it, but in order to balance the federal budget, which is over $16.4 trillion, we have to get serious. Look at everything. Put everything on the books. You can't just pick one program, whether it's the $147 million of subsidies to cotton farmers in Brazil. I mean, you cut that out, but you're going to have to look at everything.
There are 435 districts in the U.S. Our district is rated the 8th poorest. Out of the 9 districts in Missouri, it is rated the poorest. The median income is $27,865, but the household income in Dent County is $32,991. What are your plans to change this?
The first thing we need to do is get the government off our backs. Regulations is absolutely destroying our way of life. This is a rural agriculture district. Agriculture is my passion. and we got to make sure that we push back on government. One area in this region that's very important is the national park area along the Ozark Current Riverways. The National Park Services is going through a plan right now that literally could destroy our economy. If they close the access points, if they close the different horse trails. You talk about the only thing in our area in tourism, if they destroy it because they fall prey to all these environmentalists through the EPA, we're in trouble. But we have to, the way that we create more jobs is to reduce the regulations and let people actually grow their own business with government being out of it. And that's the best way to grow the economy. And from a lot of the evidence that I've been reading, it's the 11th or 14th poorest district. So it's not a title that we want, period, out of 435, but we got to change that.
Oh, isn't that great? We went up raised the bar.
Just a little bit.
All right, the candidate selected for this vacancy will have to be capable of raising money. Do you feel you are capable to raise the required funds, which is rumored to be $200,000 to $300,000 to win this race? If so, tell us how you plan to do that.
Absolutely. I'm the only candidate in this race that has ever been through a special election. It's like a marathon. You have to raise a lot of money fast. The first day I got the nomination as state rep, which is in a special election, we raised $5,000 in a room right below the bank because I needed signs and my opponent was putting signs up the day that we started. I am the second highest position in the Missouri House, Speaker Pro Tem. In order to do that, you have to go all across the state, raise a lot of money, help a lot of colleagues. It'll be no problem raising money, I can assure you with that. It's something that you have to work hard at, and you can't stop working.
There has been much talk about gun control. Here in the Ozarks, most of us have and use guns. This level of freedom is something to be thankful for. We always want to keep this freedom. The person we select, we want to know without a shadow of a doubt that person would vote to keep this freedom if it comes to that.
We need to reduce the laws that are on the books concerning gun control because all that the current laws are doing are reducing our freedoms in the Second Amendment. What you see all the time are politicians, when there's a national tragedy, they have a knee-jerk reaction and they think they can solve the world's problems. This is completely wrong. When I think of gun control, I kind of compare it to someone trying to reduce drunk driving from the sense by making tougher laws for sober people to own cars. That's a problem. And you can outlaw meth, you can outlaw anything else. The only time you take away and ban guns, you're going to take them from the innocent people.
What is your position on stem cell research?
I'm adamantly opposed to embryonic stem cell research.
I can't say that word. That's the reason I just said stem cell.
All right. And my voting record in the House shows that. I've been constantly endorsed by the Missouri Right to Life. And I voted against Mosira, which was a big piece of legislation that a lot of people was concerned with, where, thanks to our Constitution, you could look at some of the embryonic stem cells.
We don't want a candidate that will take the easy path and put tough decisions off for another day. Our children and our grandchildren's futures are at stake. Convince us you wouldn't do this and why you are the best candidate for this vacancy.
Exactly, that's why I'm running, is because I'm tired of Congress kicking the can down the road. I've, the last 7 years, worked in the state of Missouri to try to solve problems. This last year, I passed a bill that I think Congress needs to do that actually reduces the amount of regulations that's in the state of Missouri. It started out in January. When I looked at it, we had over 6,281 different regulations on the books. And now that the bureaucrats actually have to go through and look to see, does these rules cause an undue burden on businesses? Can it be more narrowly tailored to carry out the purpose? We have over 170,000 pages of rules on the books. We got to get serious about it. And what you see is what you get out of me. And I'll tell you right now that if whatever I do in Washington, D.C., if it causes me to not get reelected, one thing I promise is that I'm going to be voting my principles and what I believe in, and that's what's important. And I'm glad to represent an area that I believe that is a very rural conservative area. And in southeast Missouri, I feel like I fit the district, or I wouldn't be running for it. And I feel like I fit the values of the people here. And I'm getting buzzed. So, oh, all right. Thank you very much. And